Hello and welcome, patrons. Today I have a practice for you when you're feeling tired and you want to do your yoga practice, but you really need to rest and recharge. So let's go ahead and hurry up and relax, so to speak. We're going to start with Viparita Karani, inverted lake, which is actually an inversion. So for menstruation, you would not want to do this, but you could just lie down and put your legs up the wall. Otherwise, let's go ahead and have our mats opened, short end up against the wall, and then take one blanket. We're going to tri-fold this blanket. So think fold it like a fan, little fan fold. First, make sure it's folded evenly. And this is going to be a fairly short practice today. So, there are days I have them at least once a week where I feel quite tired and I want to be able to do my yoga practice, but I want to do it in a way that is restorative, that helps me rest and bring back energy rather than further exhausting. So it's good to have a number of poses, practices, and tools in our belts for such times. Okay, so we're taking that trifold blanket down on the mat. That bolster goes on top of that blanket. So there's a slight tip toward the wall of the bolster. So it's a little bit just slightly tipped up on the inside of the room, slightly tipped down towards the wall. And then depending on your height, your spinal flexibility, you can add blankets. I'm going to take just one blanket and add that on. And then from here, you can either somersault in or come in sideways, whatever feels safe to you, safe and accessible to you. So I'm going to go ahead and somersault in. And then you want to land so that your buttocks and the backs of the legs are right up against that wall as close as you can get. And then arms are down to the sides, palms are up. Make sure that your shoulders are touching the floor, tops of the shoulders are touching the floor. And some of the features that we look for in this pose are that the legs are perpendicular, that there's a softness in the abdomen, and also we want a sense of lift of the chest. So if you think about like an inverted lake or a waterfall, the waterfall, that downward flow of energy is coming from the legs to the hips. Then that abdomen is like a quiet lake or a pool. And then that water again cascades over the chest. So there's this sort of coiling, uplifted element to the chest area, shoulders are down, and then a quiet and a softness to the abdomen. You do not want to feel like you are working hard to stay in this pose. This is meant to be a very restorative pose. So we can do this pose in the middle of the room in ways where there is some work, but if you are quite tired, let's say you have been working all day, whatever it is, we really want to do this in a way that brings us energy back, that does not exhaust us. So those legs are gently straight, leg energy receding down into the hip sockets, abdomen soft and quiet, like a quiet lake, a calm lake. And then we want that little lift in the chest. Let's go for a relaxed face, relax across the forehead, relax the jaw, and soft inhale, soft exhale. You can stay here for anywhere from a couple of minutes to several minutes. Obviously, be aware if you feel like your feet are getting tingly, you don't want to stay till your feet fall asleep, but you can stay here for quite a while. So allow yourself to settle in. Look for the areas of tension. Where can you release? Where can you soften? Where can you let go? Soft throat, soft face. Soft inhale, soft exhale. Let's stay here a little longer. With any of the poses I'm doing in this recording, if you feel like you need to really dig in and hang out here longer, please by all means do so. I have fallen asleep in this pose when I have been tired. So Take care of yourself. If you're getting into a good place, no need to stop yourself short. But for the sake of our recording, I'll just stay here maybe another minute or two. And just watch how your breath pattern changes as you stay here. As you remain in this pose, this asana, you may find that the breath becomes a little slower, quieter, smoother, even deeper. And then what are the effects? What's the impact, the ripple out effect on your nervous system, on your mind state, emotional state, as that breath becomes smoother, softer, deeper? Another minute. And then when you're ready to come out, we want to keep that softness as we come out of the pose. So, you don't want to create this sort of soft, quiet state with the nervous system and then jolt out. So let's keep that smoothness, that sort of inward turning as you move through the asanas today. So let's just slide on out. Now we can stay here for ease, right? Sometimes when we're tired, we don't want to be doing tons of moving around. So we can just stay here for a nice, easy transition. And let's come to a lying down position where your sacrum, shoulder blades, head are just on the mat. If the floor feels a little bit too hard for your head, you can always take a folded blanket and put it behind your head. And then let's just have those center shins crossed and the legs resting on the bolster. So simple cross of the legs, we call it swastikasana. Allow those shins and ankles and feet to simply rest on the bolster. And make sure that you've taken the time to reach your arms down away from your head and neck so you can even get a little traction on the neck to roll the shoulders down and back. Let's be here for a little bit longer and then we'll change the cross of the legs. Look for your areas of tension. Where are you holding on? Where are you gripping unnecessarily? Where can you soften and release and let go? And then with minimal disturbance, let's just change the cross of the legs. If you feel like you need to straighten the legs in between sides, you can do that. And then simply change the cross so the other shin is on the inside. Again, make sure to take time to adjust your shoulders. Sometimes we may find that our shoulders start to sort of unconsciously round up or lift up towards the ceiling. So you can reach down with those hands, roll the shoulders down and back so that that chest area can remain open, the shoulders down. Just see that the abdomen is totally soft. Let go of the abdomen, let go of the legs, let go of the jaw and the face. Smooth, soft inhale, smooth, soft exhales. You can allow your eyes to close here if that feels more restful. You can be curious, but where are those little places, those nooks and crannies of the body, the face, the skull, where you may be just sort of habitually gripping on. And see if you can work with the breath to release some of those tight places. Just a few more breath cycles here. On the next inhale, if your eyes are closed, gently open your eyes. Let's go ahead and turn over to the side. Push with one hand to sit up. Now we're going to come into an Adho Mukha Virasana. Some of you may know this as a child's pose if you're a little bit newer to Iyengar yoga. So let's take, to be kind to ourselves and our bones and joints, let's take a blanket. This will be for your shins. So let's take a blanket, open up like shoulder stand size. Have a block handy for your head. You may or may not need it. Just have that handy. Have that bolster in front of you. I have a blanket on my bolster. You can do that, or you could even keep that blanket handy, and you may prefer to use that for your head. So big toes together, knees apart. We want the torso, when you come down, you want those inner ribs to rest on, or sorry, the outer ribs to rest on the inner thighs. So legs a little wider than the width of your torso. And then keeping the big toes together, hips descending. Let's take our hands to the bolster, keeping the hips down. Inhale, exhale, spread your palms. Reach those arms way far forward. As you reach the arms forward, even look forward. Take your upper back into your body. Unfurl the torso. Let yourself reach forward. And then keeping the arms straight, fingers spread, palms pressing into the bolster. Take your upper back in towards your front body. So back body to front body, chest towards the floor. And then take your head down and just see where it lands. So we don't want to be dropping the head below the spine. So if you find that to be the case, take a block down for your forehead, or if you're a little closer to the floor, you can just take a blanket so that you keep that head in line with the spine so that the head does not become heavy. All right, open your palms, open your fingers, hips down, reach those arms forward, lengthen from the armpits to the palms of the hands. Soft inhale, soft exhale, keep the jaw relaxed. And notice here, when you go for soft, natural breaths, you may find that the lungs and the sort of skin on that back rib, back lung area gently expands and widens horizontally, widens out to the side. So you become a little bit wider in the back. So can you go with that? Allow for that. Allow those gentle inhales to gently spread the back body. And smooth, soft inhales, smooth, soft exhales. We don't want to make the breath tense, whatever we do. Also, just watch that your eyes and your tongue and your jaw are relaxed as well. Okay, let's walk those hands in. Let's sit up. We're going to take downward dog. A couple of different ways, there are many different ways you can do this pose. Today, what we are going to do though, is you're going to take some support. So we're going to take a modified downward dog. You're going to take a chair to the wall with the backrest of the chair to the wall, the seat into the middle of the room. And then just make sure you have plenty of space on your mat. Let's take our hands to the seat of the chair. And then let's just walk those legs back. Press your hands into the seat of the chair. Walk the legs back. Have the feet hip width or even wider. And then you can even take those fingers off the seat of the chair. Press the heels of your hands into the seat of the chair. Draw the hips back. Keep the back of the neck long, ears in line with the upper arms. And think about, and not just think about, but do, can you create length in the side waist to create length in the spine? So you draw the hips back, lengthen the side waist. Can you equally lengthen the hips back so the two sides of the waist and the two sides of the spine stay equally long? And jaw relaxed, base of the skull relaxed. See that you're not clenching the feet. You can even step those feet a little wider, especially if you feel restriction in the hips or hamstrings or low back. You can take those feet as wide as your mat and see that the toes are spread, the bottoms of the feet are spread. We don't want to be holding tension in the toes. Okay, to release, let's bend those legs. Let's walk forward. Let's just take a moment and stand in Tadasana. So take your 2 feet together. Reach the arms down. Have your hands a little bit away from your body. Take the heads of the shoulders slightly back. Reach the arms down, shoulder blades down the back. Can you balance your weight evenly on the 2 feet and keep that chin level? Stand straight and tall. Okay, let's take a supine pose now. So let's take either Supta Virasana or Supta Baddha Konasana. I'm going to show Supta Virasana first. Now, especially for those who are newer to yoga, or if you are, let's say, dealing with some kind of knee injury, knee issue, Supta Virasana may not always be the pose of choice for you, the best thing to be doing. It is a very beneficial pose, so very good for, especially for our digestive system, helpful for menstruation as well. Good pose to prepare for back bend. So many benefits if it is possible to do safely. So Supta Virasana, reclined hero pose, knees together, feet apart. Allow your buttocks to descend down in between the heels. It's okay if your butt is not touching the floor at this point. And then let's take that bolster behind us. No, you don't want to have that bolster jammed way up into the lower back. Allow a couple of inches between your buttocks and that bolster. And then from here, you can recline back. So you may pretty quickly, pretty immediately feel sort of release. It's almost like a toning and a relaxation through the abdominal area. Wonderful pose. For digestion, you can even do this pose on a full stomach. It can help with digestion if you have, let's say, some gas, or if you overate, or just fine to do on an empty stomach also. Now arms can be down at the sides, palms up. We can also hold the elbows and let those arms rest overhead. And again, relax across the face. Smooth, soft inhale, smooth, soft exhale. Now, a couple pointers about this pose. So as I'm doing this pose right now, my butt is on the floor. My back is supported on a fairly tall bolster. So I am getting a bit of arch in that low back. That is not always a desirable thing. For some, that can even cause some pain and discomfort in the low back. Careful coming out of this pose. So if you do decide that you don't want that kind of archy thing happening in the low back, what you can do then is you can take a support underneath the buttocks. There are many different ways of doing this also, but you can take even just a folded blanket or a brick and place that down, so that then what we do is we come back to big toes, knees together, feet apart. Let those hips come down onto the blanket, and then you arch back, and then you may find that you need to then build up the height on your bolster, because now you've raised the height underneath your buttocks. So it may be that, okay, now I need to have a little more height on the bolster as well. So, we don't want to necessarily feel strain in this pose, especially obviously if we're doing this as a practice for when we're tired. We don't want to be straining. So your pose could take on a shape something like this, right? And of course, you adjust and make the props to fit your body in the way that you need. So it's not about getting the same exact setup as me, but how do you adjust the props to work for your body, for your pose? Now, if Supta Virasana is not for you, you could instead take Supta Swastikasana or Supta Baddha Konasana. So in that case, you could just leave your buttocks on the floor, and you can take either the shins crossed or the bottoms of the feet together, knees apart. And then you recline back over that bolster. So feet together, knees apart. You can also, support the outer thighs, arms down, palms up. Now just make sure your feet aren't slip sliding around here. So you'll want your feet on a sticky mat. You can also, to support the legs here, because if you stay in this pose for a while and the legs are not supported, it can really start to pull on those inner thighs, inner groins, and become too much of a stretch. So you can also take a blanket and just loop that blanket around your ankles. So feet together, knees apart, and then just take that blanket for a little support. And there we go. We can stay here for a couple minutes or several minutes. So arms down, take time to roll those shoulders down, shoulder blades into the back, arms down, palms up. Smooth, soft inhale, smooth, soft exhale. One thing to look for, is there an evenness in the breath? And by even, yeah, you can think even inhale, even exhale, no sort of jaggedness to the breath. But also you can notice, are you breathing evenly into the right lobe of the lung, left lobe of the lung? So you can even take your fingers to the ribs. And as you take a soft, smooth, full inhale, just notice, do you breathe faster or more fully into one lobe of the lung over the other? And then can you just gently guide that breath to be a little more even, right side, left side? Soft, smooth, and even breath. When you've worked with that for a while, let's take those hands down to rest, arms down, palms up. We'll be here just a little longer. Again, stay as long as you need. It's fine to close the eyes here. And then eventually, softly open the eyes. Push with the hands, lift the chest, take the upper back in, lift the chest to sit up. Take a moment to straighten your legs out. So let's go ahead and extend those legs straight and long. Okay, we're going to take a belly down pose now. So we can keep the blanket in front of us if you have a blanket there. Let's have that bolster lengthwise, have a block for your head, and then you're going to lie down on your abdomen on that bolster. Couple options here for your head. So I like to have a block for my forehead. You can either just rest that forehead directly on the block, medium height, or you can take that block low height, fold your arms, rest your hands on the bolster, and then let your forehead rest on the backs of those hands. Let those legs elongate back. Relax the shoulders. Relax the jaw. And smooth, soft inhale, smooth, soft exhale. So let your back body, let the back of you fall to the front body. And then also allow your abdomen to rest fully on the bolster. Now, if you do find that you have, what I'm running into is that my bolster is quite long and I do not have a very long torso. So I'm actually backing up a little bit towards the back of my bolster. So we do want, ideally, the roots of those thighs, the very tops of the thighs, to be on the end of the bolster. So that way the buttocks can sort of lengthen down. The low back can lengthen down to the buttocks. We don't want there to be a big arch in the back. So if that is the case, you can always back up on your bolster a little bit. And you can even just kind of fold the arms and rest your chin on the backs of those hands. So we do want a feeling of spreading, of lengthening, of releasing of the muscles of the back in this pose. Abdomen soft as well. If it works to turn your head to the side, that's possible. Or you can again just rest with the forehead or the chin on support. And then after a couple or a few minutes, let's go ahead and come on up. Now we are going to do a pose for the shoulders. You know, sometimes when we get tired, sort of tired and stressed, we can tend to hold that in the shoulders and the neck. So let's take a bolster. Sorry, not a bolster. This is a chair. We're going to take a chair over to the wall. Let's put a little padding on that chair, either a thin blanket or an extra sticky mat. And then let's take the hands. You're going to take the hands in like a namaskar position, and you're going to put just this upper arm near the elbow on the chair. So the upper arm on the chair, palms together, draw the hips back. Let that upper back come into the body as you draw the hips back. And you can even let your forehead rest on the chair. Now, without hanging in the belly, so a little bit of drawing that navel to spine so you can spread your low back. Let's open the palms toward our head, and you might feel an interesting and hopefully good sensation in your shoulders and shoulder blade area. You can do that slowly a few times where you press the palms together and then you open the palms towards your head. Just notice how that radiates into the shoulder blade area. And once again, open those palms towards your head. And then go ahead and release and come on out. Okay. We are going to do a couple more poses. So let's take a little double bolster Supta Swastikasana. So you're going to take two bolsters, or if you don't have two bolsters, you can sort of form a second bolster by taking bricks and stacking blankets on top. And then we'll take these two bolsters and stack them short end to short end. If you have one bolster that's bigger than another, you can always fill in by layering on blankets. You're going to sit on the first bolster. Just make sure you're not sitting in the crack between the two bolsters. So sit well onto that first bolster. And then recline back, cross your shins. There's a nice natural kind of spot here where those shins are crossed and those feet and ankles just sort of gently wrap around the edge of the bolster in just a really soft, natural, supportive way. And then roll the shoulders down, arms out on the sides, palms up. Let the abdomen soften. You can let the eyes close. Let's be here for a couple minutes. Smooth, soft inhale to gently expand the upper chest. And then not to push the air out, but smooth, soft exhale. Can you keep some of that fullness, expansion, illumination of that upper chest region even as you exhale? And then after a couple minutes, with minimal disturbance, let's change the cross of the legs. And jaw relaxed, smooth, soft inhale, smooth, soft exhale. And after a couple more minutes here, we are going to take our final asana before Shavasana. So to come out, just roll to the side, sit up. Let's take a Setu Bandha on 2 bolsters. So Setu Bandha Sarvangasana. So we will keep those 2 bolsters stacked up or aligned lengthwise. Now for Setu Bandha, we don't want to put our head down on a hard floor. So you can take a thin blanket and put that down. We do want to have the shoulders and head on the same plane. You may find, especially if you're a little more taller or just kind of more flexible spine, you may want to stack height on top of those blankets. And then let's take 1 or 2 belts for the thighs. So if you do have 2 belts, you could take one for, oh, there's my belt. You could take one for the upper thighs, one for the thighs, one for the shins. If you only have 1 belt, then you could do the thighs only. Or if you do find that, like particularly if you're maybe very bow-legged, you may want to belt the shins instead. So let's belt the thighs. If you have straps, if you have 2 straps, let's belt the mid shin as well. So there's a part of the shin that sticks out, that bows out, even if you're not bow-legged. Let's put it around that part. And remember that bone tissue is live tissue. So my legs are definitely not perfectly straight, but they used to be even more sort of knock-kneed, I guess crooked, you could say, than they are now. So we do have the capacity to sort of straighten out our limbs over time. Okay, and then you're going to lie down on those bolsters, slowly ooze off, lift your chin slightly, tuck the chin to the chest, lengthen that back of the neck, and then ooze on down until the tops of the shoulders just barely touch the floor. So again, we have that nice open coiling chest position like we did in Viparita So we want that chest, that heart center lifted. When we do get fatigued or down, there can be a tendency to kind of collapse in that chest cavity, that chest center, heart center. So we want to keep that open and supported. And then the great thing about the straps is that when your legs are strapped, you don't have to struggle to keep them up on the bolster. If you're not strapping the legs, that's fine, but you just may have to work a little harder to keep the legs up in place. Now, careful not to look around in this pose. We never want to turn our head when the neck is in flexion. It's just shoulder stand, Setu Bandha. You don't want to turn your head. So just keep the eyes just kind of a natural gaze upward, slightly forward. And inhale in behind the sternum chest. So smooth, soft, full inhales behind that sternum chest. Abdomen relax, hands relax. See that you're not tensing the feet or the jaw or the forehead or the eyes. Now, how long to stay? Anywhere from maybe 3 minutes or more, 3 to 10 minutes is good. Can you smooth out any ripples, any jaggedness in the breath? Smooth, soft, full inhale. Smooth, soft exhale. Let's stay here a little longer. And see to it that your jaw stays relaxed. You can keep the mouth closed, but see that you're not clamping the jaw shut. It's almost like a feeling like those inner ears are deepening. The ear canals should feel like they're open, not clamped down. And after a few or several minutes here, please do take your time. Feel free to pause this recording, stay as long as you need. To come out, you'll bend the legs, slide off to the head side to come out. And for Shavasana today, let's take bolsters on top of the thighs. That can be helpful for quieting the mind. If your mind is a bit active, you may want to have a thin blanket underneath your head. So let's take a blanket and fold it shoulder stand size, and that will go underneath your thighs. This is also good for hamstring issues, like a hamstring pull or inflammation of the hamstrings. So just underneath the buttocks to the backs of the thighs. And then let's have those bolsters handy. You're going to lie down. Take one bolster or more and put it on the tops of the thighs. So not on the abdomen, not on your knees, certainly, but at the tops of the thighs. And then let those legs spin from inside out. Let go the arms, let go the legs. Let the eyes close completely. Stay here for a few minutes or longer, and even let your breath rest. And that is all today, my friends. Namaskar.